Well, welcome to Stencils and Such, and we always try to have, well, we always have two stencils at least, and we have two this time, as you can see, a circle and a rectangle. But more importantly, we want to show you lots of ways that you can use these, and you are not going to be disappointed today. In fact, this is one of the cards that you will see, so won't you please come play with us? You know, I think this is the first time we've had All in Create products on the show, so that's very fun, and there will be more later. As I said, there's a circle and the rectangle, so I'm going to start with the circle, and actually both of them you will get the stencil, and then all of the evacuated pieces also come with it, so you just pop those out. So you can use these for anything or nothing, whatever you like, but I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm going to pull out the circle and the little bits and pieces I've tucked inside the package. So let me start with this, and want to turn it over because that is how it was used. And Lene did this, and because this is a really large circle, she needed to use a 6x6 card, and fortunately we sell those. And she placed them with the fold at the top, so that worked nicely. And in positioning the stencil, it's going to fit very nicely, but it's going to be very snug, so you do want to get it right in there perfectly. And we use Hunky Dory's low-tack tape to hold that in place. Now you could use washi tape, but as you have probably seen, we have some absolutely gorgeous washi tapes, and I really want to use those for my projects rather than holding down stencils, but it's your choice. Okay, now in this card, what she has done is first, can you see along the edge how that brown edging? So she did apply that with the, she likes to use the round wooden tool, and just placing that onto a craft mat, which I work on a craft mat all the time. That's what I do at home as I'm designing for webisodes. So it just is really going to keep everything clean and not let anything get marred or stained or anything. So simple way, she's used cocoa bean ink pad, and just going to do this and bring it to the edge like so. It's kind of the same process that you would do with a blending tool also. So just going to do that around all four sides. I'm not going to finish that. I'm just going to leave it for right now. Okay, you get the idea. But the magic, I think, is this. So look at the colors that she's used, and these are all stencil butters, and we love stencil butters. They're just great. Copper, dune, and chocolate. Okay, just go ahead and roll. Copper dune and chocolate. Really pretty color combination. And as you can see, she has simply filled in the areas, not randomly, because they are interspaced. So each of them, let's see, chocolate has 2, the copper has 3, and the dune has 3. But you can use that, and if you want to pick 3 other colors, that's perfectly fine. And as you probably know, I'm going to do the copper because I'm a copper sort of gal. You want to use a palette knife, and it's just fluffy and soft and easy to use. Very, very neat. So I'm just going to look at that. See, there's nothing dry. It's just lovely. And this has been used before and closed up, and it's not drying out at all, so that's nice. And look, as I'm talking and wiggling my hand, it's not even messing up there. Okay, so I'm just going to put some here, and I will tell you right now, I have way too much on my palette knife for this little space. Let's see, I'll just put some back, how easy that is. And I'm just going to hold this down and just spread that over this area. Now, I think a really good tip at this point would be to mask that area off with some Post-it notes, okay? Because it's a little tricky to wield a palette knife in a confined area, but I'm trying this for you because I didn't bring any Post-it notes. And I don't think Lene listed them because, you know, we don't sell them. So, but I would recommend that at this point, actually at a minute before this point. Okay, so I'm just trying to be extra careful. I'm scooping some in there and then spreading it. Then I will do some final swashes across it before I am done. So I just want to get the butter in all of the places. And I don't want to have too much because, well, I can put all the extra back in the can, or back in the jar, which is nice. These come in a plastic jar, so they're lightweight. And there you go. Okay, a little bit right there. Okay, I'm gonna lift that off. And there you go, just go right over the top of it. Now, it takes a little while to dry, not a terribly long time, but what she did is she did this piece and then also this piece. So that would be nice just to kind of swoosh on over. Now, you want to take any extra and put it back in the jar, of course, and you want to make sure that as you go across it, that's another feature of the palette knife, is that it will let you just remove any excess like that. Okay, it goes back in here. And you can do all the colors, or you can let them dry between, just whatever you choose. But I would not remove the stencil until you first test it. So the way I test is to lift it up, not completely, but just lift up that area, just to make sure of what I've done, okay? And right now I've got a little piece here, so I'm gonna lift that off and kind of dab it with a little water to remove it. And I might just bring my brown a little bit more into the edge with that one, okay? So I think I was a little concerned about getting it into other areas. You know, really, I'm not sure that that's a terrible problem because you could just go over it with the other stencil better, but better safe than sorry, and do some Post-it notes around it. Now, after you have done all of your stencil butters, you want to remove the low-tack tape and put this into a bath. And I have a piece, it's not a bucket, it's just a thing of plastic and with some water in it over at the side, and I just place them in there. I also will put my palette knife in there. Then the other thing that Lene did, which I think was brilliant, is she took some dazzles, and these happen to be our Roses dazzles, and this we just brought back. This is a gold pearl, and she has placed it so it's within the confines of the areas, but also letting it go over. And I think that's just brilliant. It's a good look. And so the rose is going to go over 3 areas. Birthday and wishes are going to read on 2 of them. And it just works nicely. Now, Lene did take a fine tip pen as she went around each of the areas. You can do that or not, whichever you like. We always give a free gift if you happen to be a subscriber. The free gift this time is this sheet of pearl gold roses, and so that will come with you, and we'll talk about the subscription later. Now, she doesn't finish the inside of her card, leaving that for as you wish, but you can certainly see you could just do part of the stencil and use other of the dazzles, write your message. That would be really, really nice. So edging it with the ink pad and also then using the stencil butters is just the way to go with this. And you can choose lots of colors. I think we have about more than a dozen different, probably 14 different colors of it. So, but this is a really pretty combination. Okay, what else can you do with that really neat stencil is this next one. This is what Debbie did. Look at that. How fun is that? Now, once again, she went into 6x6 cards, I believe, and she did use, she's also going outside the bounds of that, which is just a great design technique, but she also wanted to do something different. So she took the stencil and placed it on her 6x6 card, And she used the Prussian blue ink pad with the blending tool and just went over it. So you can see how it's lighter here. That's because of the lighter area. And you know what? I think I just lied to you. Let me show you the papers that she chose, because I think that is covered up with the light blue. Yes, it is. So Unexpected Beauty solid cardstock, and then she did use Unexpected Beauty 6x6. I'll tell you why as we move through this. So the solid and the 6x6, and so she took her 6x6 card and then covered it with the light blue, okay? That's going to work very, very nicely. And she used her stencil to cut around the edge of that to give her a circle card. So very nice, that's fun. And then again, the prism ink pad, the Prussian blue, and she likes to use the finger daubers. So just, you know, they come in packages of 6 like this. You can see that these have been used, and just these have not been cleaned, I would like to point out. And just dabbing it into the ink pad, and then just, it fits on your finger like this, and just going like this. You can also use a blending brush, whichever you prefer. But I want to tell you what Debbie does, okay? So then she had that light blue circle with the dark blue around the edge, and then also in the center area. And so that created kind of her canvas. So the next thing that she did is she went into the Unexpected Beauty cutting dies. Yes. So Stuck on You, she cut out of the pink, the light pink that's in the Unexpected Beauty, and foam taped it in the middle. And then the cactus, this big cactus out of green, foam taped that. And then there is this spray of leaves that's going to go over here into that first piece that I did on the last project. Then Life is Like a Cactus, thorny but beautiful. Wow, how neat. Well, that came from the 6x6, and there are 116 cutouts in this little puppy. So you're going to find something that you love. And she did mat it on the yellow. And then you can see that these little flowers and these little sprigs, those were also die cut out, and just works really, really nicely. And then again, she did not complete the inside of her card, but you can see that you certainly could. And you've got lots of things to do. How about a pail or a container with a cactus in it, or several cactus? That would be fun. Okay, all of that is going to work well. Now, you can also, if you wanted to, you could edge the pieces with a coordinating ink pad like khaki with that. That's your choice. Debbie chose not to do that. She wanted the bright colors, and the yellow, the pink, the green, and the blue, it's just really lovely. Okay, so that's another way that you can use this stencil. Okay, now we've given you 2 ideas, so we're going to move on to the rectangle. Okay, and here it is. And with this one, I'm sorry I don't have the measurement right in front of me, but I will tell you that for this card, Lene used the 5x7 tent cards, so it's going to fit within a 5x7. As a matter of fact, this is what she did. So she selected, can you see that this is a patterned paper? Well, let me show you where that came from and why. She used the watercolor wildflowers. Now, this is a new paper pack this year, and it has just this very soft watercolor look. And I thought it was just doggone brilliant of the woman to use this paper. So can you see right here that that's what she's done? And in this case, she covered her card front with this paper. The way you do that is just put glue around the edge, then put the paper down, press it, and turn the card over and trim it to fit. That will work perfectly every time. So then you have this look. So what she did is she placed this in the middle of it. And then she used, let me see, she used khaki. Khaki and Velvet Fawn are the two I use most, and so I think she does too. And this is actually on the back side. Let me just show you this. This is on the back side of this sheet. How pretty is that? It's like this is the top layer, and this is the back sheet. So it is kind of a muted. In this case, it's muted down here. She didn't elect to use that, although now that I look at the card a little closer, yes, she did. So she covered her card down here just to have some of those vines creeping up. Well, smart woman. Okay. So with the stencil placed, and it would be like so. Okay, and I'm going to again use the low-tack tape from our friends at Hunky Dory. And I will use the round blending tool as soon as I put a refill on it. Okay, so this is just Velcroed on. And you just pull that puppy off. Boop, and position that just like so. Okay, so khaki is just a really good green, and that's going to go over the whole thing. I'm obviously not going to do the whole thing for you, but I just wanted you to get an idea of what this is going to look like. So I'm spreading it, and even though I'm putting the ink all over this, you're still seeing the art behind it. How neat is that? Now, you could place this in a couple of different ways. It looks to me like I've placed this just the opposite of what Lene did. That's okay. And you can just go all the way around. You want to go to the outside of the card too, as well as the inside. Okay, so I'm going to stop right now because I've got that finished. I'm going to put a lid on that. And I'm going to do as I suggest, is that you don't take the whole bit of it off. You leave it attached just to make sure that you're doing what you want to do. And you might want to go back and make something darker, whatever you like. So I'm going to lift this off. And I'm not going to put it in the water right now because this is water-soluble ink. So I'm just going to hold on to this for the next project. But I wanted to show you there's something else that she did, is that yes, I think you can see. Can you see that there's spatters in here? There's some light areas. Well, you could do this a couple of different ways. You could take the mister, M-I-S-T-E-R, and spritz it just like that. And that's going to give you some smaller areas when it dries. Or you can put that down and take your finger and flick it. Okay, so like several different ways. As it dries, it's going to lighten those areas where it impacted, where the water impacted the ink pad. So that's going to give you yet another look. Very, very fun. But at that point, she had just created the background. So now she wants to use those areas. So she went with the matching watercolor wildflowers. And this is the chipboard. The chipboard is thin. Okay, I'm back and I think I'm done coughing. But you can see the chipboard. You can color them while they're still in the backing piece. And they just pop out. Or you can color them after you pop them out. It's just no big deal to do that. And you can color them with the ink pads by maybe pushing this onto your craft mat, spritzing with water and putting it on with a brush, or you can use the alcohol markers, whatever you like. But you can see what Lene did is that she went into these yellows, a very soft yellow, and oranges and reds to go with her green, and some couple of shades of green there also. And she did also add some of our caviar beads. So the way you do that is squeeze on some glue. Now, Specialist glue is perfect. E6000 is good. So either one, you just put a puddle there and then put the beads in. Just pour them over, and they'll stick. Tap it off, and the beads go back into the bag, and let it dry. and that gives you another dimension just really easily. And I absolutely love, our cardstock is manufactured for us exclusively using our artwork, and I love how she is now able to etch some lines in these to give even more dimension, and you can really see it as you color these. So we're getting close to that poppy, and you can really see how lovely that is. And our butterfly, and then using kind of two colors, letting it morph onto each of the pieces, just really lovely. And so the end result, as we back up, is that the whole card is done, and you've really used those. Now, you can certainly put this way. If you had a Slimline card, you could do part of it and then move it up and continue using it. So lots of ways to use it. Okay, so that's fun and neat. Now we have one more because Debbie also used this stencil, and here is her card. Speaking of Slimline cards, here it is. Now she has used it in a different way. So she has this placed like this on her card, and she used it to position her cutouts and to define where they're going to go. And then she just flipped it over to do the one on the other side, just like that. So in this particular case, she has the Slimline. The fold is at the top. And in order to work, she used our new Gnomes and More Gnomes papers. Now she used the 6x6 as well as the 12x12 solid cardstock. She used the solid cardstock for matting. The 6x6 she used to get all of this artwork in the right size for this. However, she also wanted to put her pattern paper on the back of it. So I bet you can't see where she pieced it. I couldn't tell where she pieced it either, but she took one piece of all this beautiful light butterfly artwork and put it here, and then, of course, she could only go 6 inches, and then cut another piece and put it right here. And then because all of these little elements are going to fit on top, that cut piece goes right along the edge of those two cutouts. So it just worked perfectly. Thank you, Debbie. And then she went into the pad of papers. In fact, let me just show you where these probably came from. And I'll just bring out one of the sheets. You get 4 of each sheet, so you get, you know, just a really good variety. Okay, here's one of the cutout pieces. So you can see that this little guy is right here, and he's been matted on blue and then gold. And this little one is right here, and he has been matted on the same blue and gold. Okay? And again, she is using the stencil for her sizing and her positioning. So you can see that the outer mat is the same size as this, and then she just matted the this little one on the blue. All of it from the Gnomes and More Gnomes. Now, these little ones are on the next page, right here. So that little mushroom, well, by golly, that little puppy's already matted. So all you're going to need to do is to do your larger mat, and it's going to be using the stencil, of course, just right there. Okay, so you're going to cut that out. She also put a bit of a piece of the border. So the borders are right there. She put a piece of it going down, and she foam taped that on top. Now, this little guy with the balloons is right here. He's already matted for you, so you just need to cut out the pink one. The Best Day Is With You is on 2 different blues, but it's using the stencil. And again, for My Friend, The Future Is Bright, those are here for My Friend. And The Future Is Bright, those have been foam taped up. Those are already matted for you. Now, so lots of things going on with those 6x6 papers, but one other thing that's happening is that, can you see the dazzles? Well, of course you can. You can see the dazzles along the edges. Now she used the package. This is the thin line glitter. You can see why they're called thin line, can't you? And this has got 10 sheets, green, pearl gold, pink, teal, silver, silver pearl, purple, red, blue, gold. Okay, this is the green that she used. And just put strips there, just as it fit. So I think it's really fun that you can use the stencil as you would a stencil. That was on the first project with the stencil butter. But the other ways are using it in different ways, and I think that's really fun, and it's a good thing to have for a series called Stencils and Such. I hope you agree. Okay, so we have the two stencils, the circle and the rectangle, and we also have, for subscribers, the rose dazzles to make that very first card. Did I mention subscribers? Yes, I did. Well, let me tell you about that. Okay, we do have a subscription, meaning that every month you will get at least 2 stencils. You will get a free gift and at a flat rate cost. So $15 per month, and that's going to take care of you. And you will receive your product before the webisode, so that way you can play with it if you want to, you can test it and see what you like, or you can wait for the webisode and get 4 new ideas. That would be fun too. So this is our July. This subscription is over on the right-hand side of your screen, and if you subscribe now, yes, you will get the July subscription, and then August and September and going on, okay? And our goal is just to explore this medium. I just think stencils been around forever, but I think very often people kind of do the same thing with them. So we want to investigate this and be creative with it and share that with you. Okay, so that's Stencils and Such. The money order is also on the right-hand side of your screen. You happen to be watching us on YouTube. We hope that you will like us and subscribe to YouTube, and go to paperwishes.com where you will find all of these. In fact, the stencils, the dazzles, the only place you can get them is here at paperwishes.com. They're exclusively ours, and they're our designs, so that's how that works. And we would love it if you would do those things and then join us. And we do have almost a webisode every single day, except Fridays, but just about every other day. So we've got lots of creativity and lots of products to share with you. Okay, I want to thank Debbie and Lene for being so creative and working hard to give you lots of ideas with this thing we call stencils. Okay, I want to thank you for joining us and thank you for being part of our Paper Wishes family. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.